We're on ditchling. I'm going to try and get up. It's very light. So let's talk about launch timing. I'm standing on launch here. It's very light, so I don't want to launch at the wrong time and drop out. I'm just waiting for that feeling when the wing is lifting and when it's pulling slightly forwards. When it's pulling you back, it means the winds are strong on the hill. But if you can feel like it's going to pitch forward a little bit like that, that should mean that there's some lift in front, just in front of the hill. It's just the thermal lifting and pulling off. So I'm going to go out, try and find the lift. Let's see what happens. Might be helpful if I turn my vario on. Glider check. Always check after I've launched. Very, very light lift. I'm expecting, the way we're flying here, I'm expecting to get some lift as I get out over the trees, because you've got ground that's warming up and you've got a whole bowl here which has got shadow in it. If you look here, that whole bowl's got shadow. There's the sunlight. So I'm going out for that transition there, where the warm air comes up against the hill, hits the shadow and then triggers. I've got two seagulls off to my right, climbing up there. So that's showing me that there's maybe something out this side. I can drift across. Now I'm on the line where I expect the lift would be pinging up, and I'm going to use this hill as my bomb out slope. See if I can connect with what the seagulls were in. Light lift there. Kind of zero. Don't want to get too close into the sheep here, so give them a bit of space. I'm going to use the slope to land. Chin down. Trick is to just keep yourself in the game. I haven't committed to anything that I can't really get back from, but equally you don't want to stay on the hill, especially when the sun is at such a steep angle. There's no ways it's going to be warming these slopes. So I'm just keeping the glider up because I can feel what the air is doing then. It's much better than standing on the ground. A little bit of a gust there and a change in direction. I'm still getting that feeling that the glider is pulling forward. See that? So let's go off again. Now we've got a bit of slope here. See where we're headed. Down that way. Just enough to keep it going here. I expect it to get a bit trickier here because I'm now pointed more into wind. The wind's coming around that corner, so I'm not getting a good angle on this ridge. The ridge lift is weakened, but if I can just keep myself near the top, I can get around the corner to the better face. Can always slope land here if it's not working out. Now this is going to be a tricky little corner to get around, because this is exactly where the wind's going to want to come around and spill into this little bowl. If I can just sneak past these bushes, don't want to come in too low here. I might get a little bit of turbulence just around as I'm approaching the fence line. Somewhere just over there, then I want to ease over the top, and now we've got a better facing slope. Okay, that's now better into the wind. We've got another one of these little bowls to transition, and then we're on a good face. So this little piece here, I'd want to fly fairly fast. Just got my hands up, letting my glider glide through this air. Trying to transition. Can even use a little bit of speed bar here. Don't really need to. Got enough penetration. Just let it swim its way upwind. We've got another big deep shaded bowl here. So with all this shade around, ideally I'd want to be out somewhere over the fields to get the thermal, but there's no slope landing coming back, so I'm just going to use the ridge while I can. Get around these trees, and then move on to the main bowl. There's the ditching launch alternative over there. And now we're on a good slope. See, that's pointed nicely into wind. It's got a nice scoop, and I'm going to see if I can pick something out slightly further out. There's a bit of a strike of a thermal, but not enough to do a full circle. And I continue on that line. I can always come back to the ridge. There we go. Little thermal. Not quite enough to do a full 360. As I settle into my corner now, I look at my averager, 0.2. So it's just enough to stay in. Climb strengthened a little bit. We're up to 0.9 on the average. So I'm just going to stay with it. I'm not adjusting my circles at all. I'm just going to let it drift me up. And now at this point, it's going to start spilling over to the back. So now I point into wind. And I try and drive upwind a bit on that same thermal source to try and pick up some more lift. Going forward again. Got to try and pick up something further off the hill now, because as you can see, that one topped out really close to the top of the hill, but I've got a little bit more height than I had before, so now I can go further out and I might be able to get out to that shadow line. So I'm just following my nose straight into wind on this weak lift line. Just little bubbles coming off the same source, and the weaker ones will hit me first. The stronger one will be further out and going more upright. Also says the theory. Let's see how far out we can get. Just checked back at the ridge. I think I've got enough height to glide back in if I need it. I'm getting close to the point I want to turn. Idea is to just try and search in the spots where you've got light lift, so you're not sinking out. So now I'm crossing a bit, trying to find something there. It's not strong enough for me to turn in. I can use that line to get back to the hill. So trying to go back into that little bit of lift and going directly downwind back at the hill on that weak lift line. There it is. Bit of lift there. The trick is to always top up. Never miss an opportunity to gain a couple of meters. This gives you more search options. And I'm also watching the other guys next to me to see if they're getting more lift than me. Always shift over to wherever it's working better. You see he's climbed in there, he's hit something there. It shows me there's a little bit of lift off to my left, so I can move my line out to the left slightly and maybe pick out something out here. Okay, I'm back down to -1 now, so I have to go back to the hill. Go look for another. That's the game, it's very simple. You just keep doing these searching patterns. Going back to the hill, using the hill to just recover. As soon as you've recovered your height, try and find that lifty line, push out on the lifty line, keep working it, and keep watching the other pilots to try and work out if you're in the best spot or not. Good luck. Hope it helps you get away from the hill, or at least up. Extends your flight time a little bit. Have safe flying. As always, thanks to the crew on Patreon. Really appreciate your support. And thanks to everybody that pops over to Flybubble and gets some gear. Keeps this show on the road. Safe flying, guys.